Hey everyone, this is Brian, and thank you for joining me on another Fuelpak Friday. Let me get this camera sort of resituated here a bit. And again, thanks for joining me on a Fuelpak Friday. Trying out a new setup here, so I apologize for the lights, but we'll go ahead and get that sorted probably in a week or so. Today's our normal weekly live Q&A. Go ahead and throw out any questions you guys might have. So we've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever questions you guys want to ask, go ahead and throw them out there. Questions were a little bit light on the Instagram stories this morning, so we'll go ahead and just take whatever shows up. One of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit is the 2021 progress. I know you guys are probably going to ask about it, so I'll just jump into that right off the bat. We are still currently working on 2021 FP3 compatibility. I don't have an ETA on when that is going to be ready. Good morning. But we are working on it, plugging away. Hopefully have something here as soon as humanly possible for you guys. Let me just scroll through the list over here on Instagram. And again, if you guys want to throw out anything, go for it. Let's see. Rob Kaplinski asks map for fishtails. Depends on the fishtails you're looking for. So if we're talking about like a standard sort of like lowrider bike style, long extended fishtails, like a 36-inch muffler coming out the back, there's a couple things I would look at. One, if you're running it on a touring model, I would recommend something very high open, very wide open, and something that is going to be a true dual style setup. So if you're running a touring model, I would look at running a set of dresser duals headers and probably a twin slash or an Eliminator 400 muffler, and then you'll have to auto tune from there. That's about as close as you're going to get. So that is, you know, a true dual style header or dresser duals, and then you would have the more open, free flowing muffler with the Eliminators or the twin slash rounds. Now, if we're talking about fishtail maps for softtail, then what I would recommend running with is we have a system called the Softtail Duals. It's basically a softtail system that goes one pipe out each side, so it keeps it totally symmetrical, kind of like a touring model. Looks really, really good on things like heritage softtails or bikes that generally have bags. But if you're running a longer set of fishtails, then go ahead and look at the Softtail Duals map. If you don't see it there, then I would look for the Longshots or Longshots HS map and then tune from there as far as auto tune's considered. Now, the Longshots HS aren't going to be quite right, simply for the fact that it does have a hidden collector chamber, whereas something like a fishtail system or a true dual system won't have that, which is why if you have softtail, run Softtail Duals. So it's completely independent. Front header and rear header are separate. And it's a nice long header. We actually made our own fishtail end cap specifically for that system. And I'm not sure if they're still in production or not. I think they might have been discontinued on the shopping block. But yeah, those would be the two ways to go ahead and map for fishtails, whether you're on a touring or a softtail model. Let me go ahead and scroll through Instagram here, see if I got anything. Rob says, touring map, got it. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely, Rob. Thanks for tuning in, and appreciate the questions. B Dowsa 8 says, how can you save your preferred settings on the live data display? At this current moment there, we don't have a way to save the current settings on the live data display. It's something I've talked to our app engineers and our developers about, just because it is a hassle to go into the live data display and sort of reconfigure everything. I've gotten good at it. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it would be nice if it were to be saved and for something to stay stored. So right now, it's something they're working on outside of 2021 development. So I think it's something we should be able to tackle, hopefully post 2021 launch, whatever that's going to be. Do we have a set of pipes that'll fit the Street Bob 114? Outdoor Guy 40201 asks. Yeah, we have quite a few. As far as set of pipes, we've got for those Street Bob, we've got the Eliminator 300 slip-ons. We've got the twin slash 3-inch slip-ons for full header systems. I believe we've got the short shot staggered, the mini grenades, the Pro pipe, the high output short, the stainless high output. And we also have a stainless upsweep or stainless 2-in-1 upsweep. So there's a few header options, particularly if you're running a Street Bob. Now, if you're running a different kind of softtail, if you're running one of the wide frames, so either like a Fat Boy or a Breakout or an FXTR, the options are more limited. Basically on an FXTR, everything fits but the Pro pipe. And as far as the wide fitment configuration, so that's short shots, big shots, and mini grenades. And I forgot Pro pipe. Why the guy who runs a pro pipe on his bike forgot about a pro pipe on that thing. All right, Wingnut Legion Rider on Facebook asks, I've got a 2011 Super Glide with a Stage 5 kit, 585 cam, Pro 2-to-1 heads, valves, and idles going Eve after calling you guys 3 times. Will a Pro Tune help out or auto tune? So there's a couple ways you can go with that. Typically with something like that, if you can, I would recommend a Fuelpak Pro Tuner. However, it's a 2011, which means it's J1850, not CAN bus. So the Fuelpak Pro is unfortunately not compatible with your bike. What I would recommend doing is go ahead and email me personally at fppro@vanceandhines.com. Now that's all spelled out, so vanceandhines.com. That will allow me to go ahead and take a look at the file. We'll have you upload the ECU content. I can take a look at what we've sent you, look at idle speed, from there. Stage 5 kit with 585 cam is a pretty gnarly kit, especially when you've got the hands and everything looks. And I kind of want to take a look at what the idle is. Typically, when you cam a motor, idle will need to be tweaked in order for it to be nice and smooth. If you don't do that, then you can end up with a very, very rough kind of stuttery idle. You sort of have to just play around with it and find the sweet spot, but we can sort of go through that together. So again, fppro@vanceandhines.com, and Wingnut Legion Rider will get you sorted out. All right, we bounce back over to Instagram here real quick. If I could actually scroll instead of typing. I can't even pronounce this. B. Wanawal Rider says, I also have a fat boy and I have super radius. Love Vance Hines, really, really love it. Thank you, man. Really appreciate the support. B. Dawson says, what type of exhaust do I recommend to get the most performance at a Sportster 48? Sportster 48, your best bet right now is going to be a stainless 2-to-1 upsweep. If you want something a bit lower end, if you want something more high end, then I would look at mini grenades, potentially short shot staggered, but short shots are only right open. So if you want power where you're actually going to feel it, I would look for a 2-to-1. So the upsweep stainless would be good for you. On the 48, that's going to come in stainless, and black should be shipping here shortly. And then the option is mini grenades from there. We used to have a longer 2-to-1, a blackout 2-to-1, but I'm not 100% sure whether or not that is still in production. Let's see, George Alexander Weddle on Facebook says, would you say the Torque 450s with quiet baffles or slash cut have the best resistance for maximizing torque? So I would look at the Torque 450s, and I particularly like some of the quiet baffles, the prototypes we've been looking at. I'm not sure if they've hit the market yet, but that would be the way that I would go as far as that muffler is concerned. If you're looking outside the Torque 50s, so if you're looking at, say, like the twin slash cut, I would steer clear of the twin slash. It's not going to have the muffler volume that the Torquers have. The sound isn't going to be quite there, and I feel like the Torquers create a bit more power in our head-to-head comparisons in the dyno. If you wanted it to perform its best, particularly if you're going to be like maximizing torque, I would actually recommend the high output mufflers. They don't make as much noise. They're a quieter idle, quieter cruising sort of muffler. But I feel like it's a more, how do I put this? It's a better engineered baffle, specifically designed for torque and power, as opposed to a combination of noise and torque and power. So less concerned about sound, more concerned about numbers with the high outputs. The Torquers, we kind of did a balance where we went through a bunch of different baffle iterations and ended up finding the best of performance and sound because the Milwaukee 8s are awfully quiet. So depending on what system you have, Torque 450s or high outputs, if you're wanting to like maximize torque, I would look at the high outputs. If you kind of want to sacrifice a little bit of that for more sound, Torque 450s. Instagram David404A says availability on 2-in-1 for touring models. So there's a couple. Well, actually, right now there's only one. Maybe there's two. So at this point, we have the Pro Pipe, just the standard Pro Pipe. You can get that with a standard baffle already from the factory here. You can also add an optional quiet or competition baffle, depending on what you want your power at. If you want a more torquey setup, go with the quiet baffle. If you want a higher horsepower, wide open throttle type setup, go with the competition baffle. Standard is kind of the best of both worlds. I tend to run quiets because I like the bottom end torque. I like the grunt off the line, and while I take it to redline every now and again, I don't live there, particularly cutting through LA traffic. So I would lean that direction. If you want something that's shorter, more of like a turnout style, we do make the Python Razor 2-in-1s for drag specialties. So you can go ahead to a drag dealer and get that there. And then right now, It's not out yet, but I'm sure you guys have all seen it. The high output stainless on our King of the Baggers build. At some point, that will be coming to market. So that will also in the future be another option for you. Let's see, Gavin Woodward on Facebook says, "Will pipes be available for the new EU 2021 soft deals? Hoping to upgrade my breakout for 117 in the future." So at the moment, we don't have anything available. The plan is to eventually have something available. We're working with a couple dealers, one in Mexico and one in the UK. And we're sort of evaluating options. Now, we did have one that we sent down there to be evaluated, and the results were decent. But ultimately, we felt it was not a very elegant solution. So we're going to continue to dig into it and find a better way. There's always going to be a better way to solve something. So we technically had something, but we were comfortable having something more robust on the market. So stay tuned. We are working on it. I just don't have a date on when that's going to be available. Big 77 sub, best exhaust for a Sport Glide. For me, I'd keep the Sport Glide with that same 2-in-1. I would go Pro Pipe all day for it. The other option, if you wanted to, would be Big Shot Staggered would work really well as a 2-in-1 to 2 system, but you'd be better served with a Pro Pipe, particularly with the recess cut in the bag. What map would I recommend for a set of really short drag pipes? For that, I would recommend, and that was from High Beam Tommy. Oh, hey, buddy. For that, I'd recommend Short Shot Staggered map. I mean, it's basically a short set of drag pipes already. I usually will recommend that with a no baffle map in particular for somebody running something shorter, no baffle, like an LAF style pipe. Usually a good way to go. Let's see, Duncan Milne on I'm sorry. On Facebook, it says, "Did Vance Hines do a tailpipe for Triumph 900 Tiger Rally Pro? Looking for something different. Had a Pro stock system on my Gixxer 750. It was awesome." Greetings from Scotland. Dude, that's awesome. Thank you for joining us from Scotland. At the moment, right now, Triumph, I don't think we have anything for the 900 Tiger Rally Pro. Contact your local Triumph dealer. They have a full list of all of the performance parts that we make for Triumphs. They can only actually be bought through the Triumph dealers. We don't sell them direct, and they don't go through distribution. You solely can get it from the Triumph dealer. So I would say contact your local Triumph dealer for options as to see what they have that'll fit that 900 Tiger. I don't believe we do have anything for that, but I could very well be wrong. So hopefully I am. Contact Triumph, see what they can do for you. Christopher Blake says 2012 Heritage Softail with hard bags. Sick. Kurishiba Nagi says 2017 M8 Street Glide on FP3. Can't speak English, sorry. No, it's okay, buddy. Is there anything you... Oh, boy. I cannot Google Translate that right now. I am sorry. If you want to send me an email, Kurishiba, go ahead and shoot that at fppro@vancehines.com. We can kind of go back and forth. We'll just use Google Translate because I don't speak Japanese and it's coming through on this end a little weird. So yeah, fppro@vancehines.com and we'll get you hooked up. William Rizzo on YouTube says, "I had the FP3 and Cage Fighter installed Daytona Bike Week and love it." Nice. Thanks, Will. Appreciate the support. Glad you're happy with it. For those of you who are going to be in Texas, we're actually at an event this weekend, the Get Moto event. We're doing full air cleaner, exhaust, and fuel tuner installations there. So if you're going to go to the Get Moto show, go ahead and stop by, say hi, and get hooked up with some V&H goodies. Brent Burke says, "Looking for something like the Big Shot True Duels for an Ultra in black." We don't make it. The Big Shot Duels for baggers, I'm not even sure if they're discontinued or not. I'm not certain. Twin cam only model haven't been available for the Milwaukee 8s. I do know the idea has been kicked around to bring it back, but I don't know when and if that would even be happening. In the case that it was, the idea was to bring it in both finishes. So stay tuned. Maybe it's coming, but I'm not sure. Jeremy from LA says, "Do we have maps for the Sportster high output grenades?" Yes, you should find that in the FP3 app. Shouldn't have an issue finding those at all for you, bud. Can't read it on my own shirt. Armand open a 4208, bought an 08 Road King Classic. What would be the recommendation for the first exhaust mod? Depending on what you want to do, that 08 we make a set of dresser duels for that's really nice. And then I would typically recommend something like, most people are pretty happy with that setup, like a twin slash rounds. I like the high outputs. Torker 450s are available for that model as well. So any muffler you want to go with, you can. If you have the ability to stop by a show or a rally, it helps because you can listen to all of our different things back to back to back. So you'll have, like an Eliminator 400 next to a twin slash, next to high output, next to Torkers, and it really does help sort of like wrap your head around the differences and pick one. Typically what I recommend is if you're looking for a 4-inch can, you'd look at either the twin slash or the Eliminators. They're both going to sound identical. It's just a different end cap. The Eliminators will be slightly louder, minuscule amount, because the baffle can length is actually shorter to accommodate that end cap, the CNC end cap. Step up from there. If you want it to be the Monster Rounds, they're going to be the quietest of our series, but they're really nice muffler, perform really well. So that's more of like a long haul touring muffler. We have the high outputs, which is basically kind of the best of both worlds. Loud, aggressive, sort of hot rod sound when you get on the throttle or when you let off the throttle, but really mild, super chill, like tuning and idle sound. And then Torker would just be loud, full aggressive. That would be the one you would pick if you wanted to make sure you were heard. Clark Bennett says, I live at 5,300 elevation. Do I need to alter the stock map for that? Yeah, so if you feel like the bike's running a little bit poorly, or if it's not doing what you'd like it to do, 5,300 feet is about the level. Anything about 4,000 to 5,000 above, I'd recommend running auto tune. 2 to 3 shorter, 20 to 30 minute sessions there, Clark, should get that dialed in. Basically what happens is at higher elevations, bikes tend to run rich because there's less oxygen. And so if you ever had like an old carburetor model, and I did this for years, I live in Phoenix and I had a carved bike and I'd visit my friends up in Flagstaff, and Flagstaff is 7,300 feet elevation. So I'd go from like 1,000 feet to 7,300 feet. And by the time I got there, my bike was running super rich and fat and it didn't like it at all. Luckily with fuel injection, you don't have to worry about that. The automatic fuel trims will basically add or remove fuel as needed, based on data it's collecting from the front and rear oxygen sensor live. So what ends up happening is as you go up or down in elevation, it'll sense the added or lack of oxygen in the combustion chamber. It'll tell if it's too lean or too rich and then trim the fuel accordingly. So more than likely it's trimming it out for you right now and it's likely fine. But if you wanted to have that full range of adjustability at your elevation, so that way if it's higher elevation and it's really hot, or high elevation and it's super humid one day, if there's like a thunderstorm that rolls in, then it'll accommodate for that kind of thing. So a couple auto tune sessions, you should be right as rain. Any recommendations for tune-one on a switchback that doesn't include a floorboard relocation? Asks Lazarand, the open road. We had one. It was a pro pipe slip-on. It was actually like a separate pro pipe. And I want to say there was a slip-on as well, but they're both since discontinued, since the switchback was discontinued. You might be able to find them on eBay as like a new old stock part, or potentially like the secondhand market, Craigslist, or OfferUp, etc. That would be where I would take a look. Alrighty, George's back on Facebook, so he's got all of them. Slash cut doesn't sound as great as the Torque 50s. You said, agreeing 100% on that. Just need to find a way to get the standard baffles out. I tried myself and it was just too tight. I was going to go to a workshop for it to get swapped with the quiet ones, but thanks for the tip on the exhaust. Do I have a muffler? Hold on, let me try something. So basically, and this is going to get a little loud, so I apologize. So the best way to get the end cap off is going to be to pull the 2 bolts. And then what you'll want to do is take this bracket and hit it against a hard surface like this table. I'll kind of shrink this down as best I can without it falling over. There you go. So basically you'll take this and you'll hit it against the table like that. We'll do the same thing for you guys. So if you wanted to pull a baffle out, see how I've got the tent bracket against the table. So you lift it up, hit it down, and that's after you pull the hardware. What that does is it takes the muffler and the baffle assembly and allows momentum to sort of pull the end cap out the bottom. If you try to do it any other way, it's going to fight you really badly. If you try to do it on the bike, it's going to fight you really badly. My recommendation is to take it off the bike and then just give it a good whack, and you're good. If I had the wrench, I would do it for you right now, but I don't, and I don't want to go digging through the tool drawer. I'm sure I'd find it, but it would take a while. Doug Ashley says he installed ProPipe and FuelPak. Is it normal to lose gas mileage getting 15 miles less per tank full? That's not uncommon for a couple of reasons. One, the added exhaust system does take a bit more fuel to run than standard. Two, the target AFR tables have changed. And three, I've noticed for the most part, when people put an exhaust system on the bike, they tend to be a bit more throttle heavy. And as a result, they'll get lesser gas mileage. Also, service items could come into play. Things like spark plugs or air cleaners that need to be cleaned or replaced can have an effect on that as well. Tire pressures can change very drastically the level of gas mileage you get. So if your tire pressures aren't consistent, you'll notice that that'll go down as well. So I would look at the general service items. And then we can also trim out your map if you need to. But typically, even if I lean out the target AFR table to try to get you a bit better gas mileage, the odds are that it's just inherently going to make less mileage. B Dowsa 8 says, is it recommended to auto-tune your bike instead of using one of the pre-programmed maps? Not necessarily. I would say that most of our customers don't need to run auto-tune. I'd say about 95% for the fact don't need to run auto-tune. We dyno them here in-house in Santa Fe Springs in Southern California. And for the most part, I believe, I don't have the data on me right now, and I don't want to mess with this iPad because I'm not familiar with it. I believe we're at about 1,000 feet elevation. So we're looking at, for the most part, dry climate, fairly warm. If I were to go dyno today, it would be a really, really nice day for it because I think it is, yeah, it's not quite 80 degrees. So it would be a pretty nice day for it. When it's 100, 114 in the dyno, I don't like doing it. A, because it's horrible. And B, because the results just aren't as good. Midwinter results are pretty decent. The kind of weather we have right now is really, really perfect for it. So we try to do a lot of our mapping kind of based around when we're going to have decent temperature. Try to do it in the morning rather than the afternoon. And then the other thing was we try to make it around the launch of the product, so it changes a bit here and there. But for the most part, no, you likely do not need to run an auto-tune. Rob's like, wait, is there a no baffle option? 2019 Road King, can't find on FP3. I don't have any no baffle options for touring, period. It's something we don't recommend for touring models, and we don't have maps to support that kind of thing. You end up losing too much bottom end power. And for a company that has its background and its origins in racing, it wasn't something that we want to do. So you cannot find a no baffle map for pretty much anything other than like short shot staggered. Short shot staggered is going to be the one that's there because we've had enough phone calls about it where we just said, screw it, and made one. Groundhog with Harley says, when you guys get into tuner for the 2021, got a lowrider S? Bro, we are working on it. Pretty much the entire electronics team is pushing on it. We're actually buying 4 new 2021 bikes today to keep doing testing. So I think at this point we'll end up having, I think we're buying like 10 2021 bikes in total. Not all for FP3 development. We're getting some fun goodies, one of which is a live wire. So I'm excited to play with that. I don't know what we'll do with it, but I just want to ride it. I'm excited. I want one. If I had 30 grand, I would own one, but I can't justify it. Can I join the live so I can sing for you? No, that would be awkward. I'm good. That sounds great. But no. Damn, you are persistent, bro. Vince in Facebook said, I'm going to stay with just Rogue Pargles Torque 50. Should I just run the CAN map or run auto-tune? I mean, we've dynoed it here with wideband sensors and a Fuelpak Pro in a controlled environment with engine speed and wheel speed control pretty spot on. If it were me and I had that set up on my bike, I wouldn't run an auto-tune. You should be good to go, Vince. Damn. Sinodino Bino, I got to give it to you, buddy. I'm not going to edge it alive, but I admire your persistence and stick-to-itiveness. All right, ladies and gentlemen, he, she, them days. We are out of questions at the moment, it looks like. So unless something pops in, I think we're going to call it here in a few moments. Again, if you are in Texas, go ahead and drop by and join us at the Get Moto event. We are good doing exhaust, air cleaner, and fuel pack installs. FP3 tuning, whatever you need, stop by, talk to the guys, and we will get you hooked up. Other than that, thank you guys for joining me on another Fuelpak Friday, and we'll see all of you next week. Thank you again.